Hi, I'm Jan Ozer. I'm meeting today with Matt Lasky, lead user experience designer at UIC Digital, a design firm that helps their clients create digital products that have a clear purpose and achieve great results by being well built and easy to use. We're going to talk about Amazon Prime's recent interface redesign, specifically what Amazon did and what it means for others that present content on the web. Matt, thanks for joining me.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Give us a 30-second overview of UIC Digital.
Yeah, sure. We create digital products, quite a diverse range, really. We work with companies like BBC, and in fact, we just launched BBC.com globally, and we built and developed and designed their website. We've also worked with Amazon, where we've done some benchmarking and user testing, and we've also worked with a company called UEFA, who are the European governing body of football or soccer, as you guys would probably like to refer it as. And they do things like the Euro 2024 and the Champions League. And we work with them on the user interface for the SVODs and the kind of library asset management as well for those guys.
Okay. Did you guys work on the Prime user interface redesign?
No, no, that hasn't. We did not do that.
Okay. Tell us about the work you've done with AI, specifically recommendation engines, because I know that's a big part of what we're going to talk about with Amazon.
Yeah, sure. So we've had, over the last probably 4 years or so, it's a constant conversation with clients. How's the model changing? How advanced can you get it? It's really push the boundaries of how we can interact with our interfaces. So we have some apps that we're building at the minute that are going to be coming out quite soon that are integrated fully into ChatGPT 4 on the new version. And it's really, how can we push this model forward? What's the most we can get out of it? And how can it learn about me and personalize my conversations over time. And I think that's a big part of what we're doing with the companies that we're working with is really that tailored experience. And our latest client has called it the concierge experience, where you can rely on this. It doesn't feel like an AI chatbot. It's more like a concierge, like a really nice experience that you can rely on and go to. And then I guess there's the flip side of it, where you may be a bit more corporate, you may be a bit more risk averse, and is AI ready for that industry? Is it ready for opening up to databases and to people's personal information? So we've kind of got a good range with our clients of some that are really motivated and want to be on the bleeding edge of technology. And we've got others that are kind of risk averse and want to maybe dabble in it a little bit and just test a few small things and then see how they go rather than going sort of all into AI.
Okay. What's significant about the Prime interface redesign?
I think this is a real stepping stone for Prime Video. I would say previously that when you speak to people that use Prime Videos before this update, I don't think anyone would compliment really on the aesthetics of it, and also the kind of interactions, the feeling you get from it, just the natural feel. Um, and the update has gone a long way to improving that, and I think to innovate it to where some of its competitors are and overtaking some of the others as well. So I think it's a significant step. The interactions just feel a lot more elegant, and that's really nice from a user. The way things load, the timing of it, the connection you feel kind of from the remote, from pressing the button, the timing just feels right on those. So I think all of those things will visually enhance the experience. Also, from the architecture, they have updated the user experience as well. So there's a new navigation in place as well, which I think is a really good improvement. And there's some subtle little changes they've done as well, which is good.
Okay. You're passionate about this and you're obviously a user experience designer. What can you tell us objectively, meaning statistics or any type of data about how user experience impacts usability, how long people use it, the impact on uh, their feelings towards a particular service?
Yeah, well, Yeah, analytics is data is a really good part of this. And I think that, it's definitely wise to understand what people want and why people maybe would leave something because they're not enjoying the service. So there's a company called Nielsen who do data and analytics for the industry. And they did a recent survey that said that 20% of users that don't know what they want to watch before they go onto a service, they end up leaving because they just can't find what they want. So they go and do something else. And you can imagine that being a really kind of annoying frustration because you may go into Prime Video, not find something. Then you might go onto Netflix and not find something. Then you Google on Discovery or Paramount and just not find what you're looking for. So it's a real frustration. And I think that in that same survey, they said that it takes 10 minutes or more just to find something that you want to watch. So there's a real opportunity for these services to really hone that and make a better experience for users so they can find, shows better and make that experience a whole lot more improved than what it currently is.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I go through those 10 minutes every time I get on the elliptical with my iPad. It's like, what am I going to watch this time? And it's,
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's really a shame, isn't it, really? Because I was looking at Prime Video, there's what, 26,000 different videos that you could watch, right? Not including the live TV. So there is something there. There's definitely something there you could watch that would be right for you. But the old model of the AI just clearly wasn't picking up on it. It was too generic or wasn't nuanced. And I think there's the kind of mood side of how you're feeling as well, right? So with AI, we could do the predictive side of AI. Can AI predict what it thinks you want to watch? So, for instance, I was thinking about this. Let's say you did a movie marathon at the weekend, and on Saturday night you watched two movies, 3 hours long each, lots of popcorn and soda and what have you, and candy. Had a real great time watching those movies and caught up on what you wanted. But now it's Tuesday and you haven't gone into Prime Video since, and it's 9:30 at night. You've had a really long day at work, and you just want to unwind. Maybe you've got 30 minutes to watch something, right? The last thing you want to be suggested is a 3 hour blockbuster because you've only got half an hour to watch something and really sort of wind down the evening. So I think there's those nuances of mood. Maybe you're working from home on a Thursday and at lunchtime you just like watching a comedy. There's those nuances of scheduling and timing. I think it would be really amazing if the new AI technology can bring that to the fore.
okay, let's start on the navigational and presentational aspects of the update. So
Sure.
bring up the update and tell us, what you see from a designer perspective about what they did, why they did it, and why it's useful.
Yeah. So if we look along the top row here, we've got what I'd class as a global navigation. Okay. And we've got our categories. And this is much more in line with how you see other streaming services used, like Discovery, for instance. So what we've got here is home and our different categories. One thing that it seems like Prime Video have really listened to the users is that previously, when you found a piece of content, potentially, without realizing it, you would have to pay to watch that content. So maybe you find something, you could have spent 10 minutes finding it, right? And then you go to watch it, and now there's a $10 fee to watch that program. And that's quite jarring. And then there's a friction between what the user wants and what Amazon needs for you to be able to watch that video. So now what we have here is a link called Prime. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but it's right at kind of center. So they've done a real focus to make sure that Prime is kind of front and center where your eyes naturally going to rest in the middle of the screen. So anyone with a Prime subscription now, if they tap on that, it means that anywhere in the Prime ecosystem, there's going to be no hidden charges to watch something, right? So it's going to be that frictionless journey. So I can click on Prime, everything's included. I don't have to worry about sign-ups and subscriptions. It's all there for me. So I think that's going to be really useful for viewers from looking at feedback of frustrations that people have had previously. Um, Also, is clearly showing there to the right hand side of Prime that we've got Max and Paramount Plus. So you can clearly see the subscriptions that you've got, and then also there's a subscriptions button, so you can add more subscriptions if you want to as well. And then we've got, going down from that global navigation at the top, we have our hero panel. So it's much more immersive than it was previously. I think it was quite capped off before. So I think you feel kind of immersed in whatever show that is that it's presenting. And I think that's a much more pleasant experience there. Another interesting point, and it's really minor, I think, but from what I've been reading, they've used AI to help with the synopsis of the teaser for the shows, and I'm pretty sure previously, if you can see where we've got new season, Sauron has returned, and that little bit of teaser information, that used to go into multiple lines and have an ellipsis with a more button. And I think it's much more succinct now where they don't use an ellipsis. So it feels like they're always going to try and have a closed sentence. And again, it's just a tiny nuance, but it means that I don't have to press the more button so regularly. And it just means it's going to be more succinct and tell me what I need to know a little bit quicker. So I think those little enhancements are going to be very useful for the user.
One of the things I discovered when I was researching for this conversation was the fact that Amazon has live TV. Has that always been there and I just didn't notice it,
Do,
or what?
do you know how many people are shocked to see that it's got live T? We've had conversations and we do feel that it's, it should be marketed. It's a real benefit. And here in the UK, it pulls in our public service broadcasters like Channel 4 and My5 and those sort of channels. So it's a really powerful tool. And I agree. I think people just don't know about it enough. And it's really visually, I think it's quite appealing the way they've designed it as well. It feels like you want to go in there once you're in there and start investigating what these shows are and discovering stuff. So yeah, I think you're correct in saying not a lot of people know about it. I wondered if it was just UK based that didn't know, but obviously over there as well, it's unknown. And I do think, Amazon should be streaming about that, right? It's a really cool tool.
So let's bridge over into the recommendation engine side. At a high level, I think most people watching probably know what a recommendation engine does, but why don't you cover that? What does a recommendation engine do?
Yeah, so I think previously there's been issues with it because the recommendation engine, could have been seen as a bit generic, right? Because there must be a reason why it takes 10 minutes to find a show. And there must be a reason why, if you're unsure what you want to watch, that 20% of users are just leaving and doing something else. So, those tagging systems that maybe have been some sort of manual process in the past where they're tying it into the sort of AI just didn't kind of catch. And you see a lot of things with Netflix where it's like a match, so it's got this is an 87% match. And sometimes it doesn't work. I don't think that's right, and that's quite jarring where they're trying to tell you what a match is, and you can see plainly that it doesn't work. So I think there's been room for improvement, certainly for that side of things. And with Amazon, they're using something called Bedrock. So that's Amazon's own AI tool. And I believe it's going to be an enterprise tool that other enterprises will be able to use. So there's going to be is a much more advanced system than what's there previously. So rather than being generic in its choices, it's trying to be more honed in and much more tailored. And it's trying to pick up on those nuances of shows that you may have not have heard of and try and pull them in and bring that into your realm where you wouldn't have seen it before. So I think it's not trying to kind of reimagine the whole of it. It's just better. That's kind of where they're going with it. You know, it's better to scale. It should require less updates. It's going to be easier for Amazon to push stuff out, and it's going to be a more stable system. So that's kind of the crux of it, I think. And as I said, it'll be really interesting if they can figure out that predictive nuance. You know, what do I actually want to watch and when, and does it take into consideration the mood that I'm in as well?
Okay. Where does this announcement fall respecting other major platforms like Hulu and Netflix and some of the others? I mean, do they have AI-based recommendation engines now, or?
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, Netflix have their own internal AI processing, which is working, you know, as it is, and I'm sure they're developing heavily with that. I'm sure that the competition will be taking notice of this, especially when you think about the kind of ad revenue this could generate as well, right? Because when we're looking at the numbers, I think it was Forbes that reported that since January, Prime Video adverts they think could generate about $5 billion dollars worth of revenue, like high margin revenue. Okay, and that if you think about how Amazon traditionally market previously on Amazon shopping, they kind of know you, right? They know your history, they know what you want to purchase, they understand who you are, they've seen your basket, and there's this whole history, this whole world within Amazon. If they can start bringing that into your video experience, so rather than watching a random advert of something that's not related, could be about a soda or could be something else, and maybe you don't like soda, you know, it's completely jarring to what you like. Well, now if we can bring in all this historical data, the marketing industry could be super targeted to people, right? We could do regions, tastes, and all that sort of stuff. And Amazon have added also something called shoppable. So within these adverts, you can actually start to add things to basket, which again is kind of a game changer compared to, you know, what other brand is going to be able to do that out there. You know, your Netflix and the other devices just aren't going to be able to do that. So I think there's a step change there, and you can kind of see how Amazon see the future of this in their kind of ecosystem and the Amazon world. So I think that's really interesting, and I'm sure the other platforms out there will be taking notice and thinking about how they progress forward as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm wondering if the AI technology that Amazon used to create the recommendation engine is available as a service on AWS.
I believe it is. I've done a little bit of research on that, and it seems to be that it is going to be tied to that. So I think, yeah, that is going to be super interesting to see how that develops for sure.
Okay. So what is, I'm a smaller distributor of content. How do I go about creating my own recommendation engine with AI? Is that something you can advise us on, or is that just outside the scope of what you do?
Yeah, I think we are like UIC Digital. We have teams internally that are heavily involved with AI, using different models, like the Chat GPT 4.0 and that sort of stuff with the project I'm on. And there is some really cool things that you can do. And I think if you are one of those smaller services, then there is big possibilities where you could really do some really interesting things and maybe some different things that people haven't thought about yet. You know, there's kind of safe stuff that you could do. And what about some more interesting things, some nuanced things that could be really quite exciting and a bit more cutting edge and a bit more daring than this kind of big behemoth kind of corporations. And I think, yeah, certainly reach out to companies like ours where we could advise on kind of the scope of what could be done. Because I think just housing it under a small area for collections doesn't feel right. You know, if you look at companies like Spotify, I get recommendations weekly for my whole week planned of some cool music to listen to. And it's usually really, really good and very accurate of what I want to listen to. And invariably, I listen to a lot of it throughout the week and keep coming back to it. And I have like a special button just that I can press on my speaker and it just starts playing it. And then if I skip it, it understands that I don't want to listen to that again, right? So why couldn't we kind of look at that model and say, well, maybe there's a model where we can have a weekly schedule, right, of this F1 stuff. So rather than having to think of what I've got to watch, there's a kind of schedule in place that you can have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And that could be something that a startup or a smaller streaming service could think about and be like, well, how do we look at another angle to cut down this frustrating time? Maybe we should go back to the traditional scheduling, but we know what time you're there and start planning accordingly. So I think there's lots of stuff that could be done that the bigger corporations probably don't want to go down that road. So I think there's some interesting things that we could do for sure.
Okay. Listen, this is interesting. I appreciate you taking the time. I just noticed this, I guess, 2 or 3 nights ago. It is a pretty sweeping new interface, and it's good to understand what was behind it. So thanks for taking the time.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.